Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robin Lavasser. I want to talk about something today that actually was something that was spoken about in our church the other day. And I took a ton of notes. You ever have those moments where someone's speaking about something and you're like, there are so many metaphors in this for business in general. And so I'm going to make a statement for a minute as we open things up. And that is, when impatience speaks, compromise will follow. When impatience speaks, compromise will follow. And there's some fun little stats that I'm actually going to read off of my phone with the notes that were taken. And that is, did you know that 96% of Americans eat food when it's too hot and it causes them to burn their tongue or have to spit it out or not actually enjoy the bite? 96%. I know that's such a funny, small, tiny little metaphor to impatience speaks, compromise follows. I'm going to compromise enjoying what I just ordered, what I just paid for, what I just created in my own kitchen, because I can't wait just a minute to get it to the right temperature, right? I can't wait to get it there. They say that after 25 seconds at a red light, road rage increases by 92% in people. 92%. 25 seconds. Think about that for a minute. And 92% start to rev on the gas, want to take off, start passing people. Their fury goes up. We have a lot of impatience in general. And so how does that hurt you in business? And I want to be careful because there's something to be said for decisiveness. There's something to be said for being convicted and making a decision in what I call failing forward. And it's a different topic than what we're going to talk about today. Quick wins feel good. They really do, until they cost you the result of what you actually wanted. So when we're talking about impatience, it's that sneaky little voice that trades long-term greatness for short-term relief. If you've ever sent that text, cut the corner, lowered the bar in any circumstance, this podcast today is really all for you in that space. And so how does it hurt you in sales and in leadership? When we do things like we greenlight a shaky hire because we're not patient enough to wait for a few more resumes. I'll tell you what, a bad hire is managing later on drama, frustration, lack of trust with people. You've all of a sudden got a broken relationship with a realtor or a client, messes in the pipeline because you made the bad hire because you just weren't patient enough to sit back and say, give me a few more resumes. Immediately working with a realtor, jumping to and not seeing you on even playing field or that you also add value, and immediately saying yes to something that you shouldn't have said yes to. And I've been guilty of this before. I've said yes to somebody who said, I need you at, open houses on the weekends, or I want flyers every single week, all these things. And all of a sudden I jumped to a yes when the true heart of it was, I might not be the right partner for this realtor and what their expectation is. But because I jumped, now all of a sudden I'm down this path of compromise for how I want to run my business, what I want things to look like, how I know I'd be a great value partner. And I'm something that I don't want to be in that relationship because I was impatient. One was in front of me, so I immediately wanted to close, versus no, hey, I could have patience with this. It might be I'll be your number two because I can't commit to these other things, right? That might be a conversation that you're having with a real estate agent in that moment, or any sort of referral partner that comes into things, right? Impatience will breed compromise. Compromise is the invoice, i.e. the bill, the cost of your own impatience, right? Very big deal there. Side note on hiring in general, hire slow, coach fast, exit. Those are 3 great rules in the hiring world. Hire slow, coach fast, exit clean. That means if it isn't working, you need to exit clean, but know that you did everything that you needed to do on your side to be a great employer, if you will, and then have a clean exit with people. People should never be surprised. Different podcast, want to bring it up. Money business in general. Sometimes impatience, I'm not going to research something. My husband and I have been guilty of this, right? We've not researched something and we've made a quick purchase only later to find out there was a better product that was more affordable. There was a different option. There was a different route that we could have taken, but our impatience made our compromise happen, i.e. it suffered our curiosity, right? It shut down our open line of thinking, our ability to navigate and say, let me take a step back from that. And again, indecision is also a cost in business, but impatience, ooh, that one's a big one. Slashing price to win a deal trains the market to expect discounts, right? We're so guilty of that in lending in general, but I think in sales in general, we want to slash price instead of have patience with our consultations, asking better questions, digging in and really finding out what somebody wants, what they're afraid of, what they're excited about, what their strategy is, what's coming in the next 1 to 5 years in their life, so that you can then present something to them that doesn't require fast. Here it is. I looked up a rate. I saw this. You program here. You do this. Here's your fee sheet. Good to talk to you for the last 10 minutes. I'm glad I'm your lender. And then later they start to shop you or ask you for a discount and you immediately go, okay, I'll try to lower my rate. I'll try to give away some of my commission, simply because we're impatient. And impatience is really a fear-based response to things, right? And that causes us big problems. And so slashing price, lesson in that, hold value. Let me just say this out loud. And I hope that if you have a pen and paper, you'll write it down. Hold value, add value. Don't let your value leak. Don't do it to yourself. And impatience, it's like, have you ever gone to open something, a Coke or something, and it's carbonated and it explodes everywhere because you weren't patient enough to go, maybe I should tap the lid for a second. Maybe I should open it part way and make sure it's not going to fizzle over. So your impatience rips that tab and all of a sudden there's soda everywhere and it sets everything back. What a metaphor for business in general, right? That you realize that, gosh darn it, like just my impatience in that cost me so much more time and energy on the other side of it. So very strong lesson in that. Hold value, add value, don't let it leak, right? Very big deal. Personal, the text you fire off when you're triggered, then you're repairing that with somebody, right? You're trying to fix it. The lack of patience for waiting for somebody to maybe get back to you on something, so you invite somebody else because you weren't patient or you didn't want to wait. Your lack of patience with, I've done this before, I've had lack of patience, as is my husband. So instead of waiting for a response, I cut him off. I make an assumption. I respond back snarky or snippy in that moment because my patience is being tested, if you will, right? We've all had that happen. And so one of the things that I just wrote a ripple effect on this, and it's just so true. Silence is sometimes a strategy. Hear me, silence, not absence. And what we talk about in that is often the power of the pause in business, the power of the pause in personal life, the power of giving people. Now, people aren't used to it because we can't even wait to take a bite of really hot food or sit at a red light without getting revved up and angry, right? Sending off a snarky text or being triggered by something. Like, we have a lot of impatience. But if you really think about it, it's not absence, it's silence. And the power of the pause allows everybody to just settle in for a minute, take a deep breath, assume the best, right? Give yourself a little space to not be hyper reactionary, because those reactions with impatience coupled with them is going to compromise maybe your own behavior, your own thoughts, your own attitude, your own way that somebody is taking you in, right? And as the professional in that moment, or as the friend, or as the family member. So really big deal on that. I said this out loud, but impatience is a stress response, right? It's a fear-based response. If you don't set standards in your own calm, then you'll set them, you'll sell them in chaos. Let me say that again, in business. If you do not set standards, and really even in your household, in everything that you do, if you don't set standards in your own calm, you will sell them in chaos. It's a big one, meaning you're selling your own standards. You're giving them away. You're producing that compromise, right? Process protects you from the tired version of you. Process protects you from the tired version of you. You need to have a process where you're impatient. Maybe, I know this sounds so silly, but do you remember when you were little, what happened when someone handed you a plate of hot food? They'd go, hey, it's really hot. Give it a minute. And then as a parent, you grab hold of that plate of hot food and you go, let me blow. and you probably blow 3 to 6 times. And then you might even stick your tongue out just a little bit if it's soup or something and just see how hot is it, right? Can I gauge if this is safe, right? And then, oh, it's in a good spot. I can eat it. Now, you don't just go grab the second bite and go, now all of it's good to eat. You follow that same process as to not burn your tongue and then to enjoy the food. Metaphorically, think about that when it comes to business. Process protects you from the tired version of you. Process is a beautiful thing when it comes to patience. And then silence can be that strategy, not absence. It's a really big deal in that space. And so if you are finding yourself as somebody that's instantly wanting to take the bite but get burned, who's wanting to zip off that fee sheet right away, who's wanting to overpromise to a realtor in a meeting and start devaluing yourself, is not remaining curious, if you will, who's so anxious to get the deal that you realize you're more focused on losing than you are getting the deal right? Strategizing. If you're frustrated and you find yourself in a lot of battles or rolling your eyes or feeling all sorts of angst in your own text chains or email chains or those kind of things, I want you to take a step back and realize that maybe your impatience followed by compromising of yourself, maybe your own impatience. And what's beautiful about that in the extreme ownership world is that you have the control to just give it a 2-second pause, to take a deep breath, to give yourself to really assess the situation, to think about the process that should be followed versus the reaction that you want to have in that moment. And I promise you, impatience will cost you, but patience with great outcome will absolutely have you flourishing in both business and personal. If this was helpful, I hope you share it. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the next Wild.